Yes, certainly. This is for the year to September. And what is surprising is that Sub-Saharan Africa, ex-South Africa, has performed relatively well compared with international markets over 2022. For instance, they've outperformed South Africa and Wall Street and European markets. So that is no mean achievement. Why is this? The answer is actually quite simple, because they've had strong earnings growth and the stocks aren't overvalued. And because of this, investors are buying the stocks. Or in the case of many of the companies, they have not been selling the stocks, which has been forcing the prices down. And so shareholders have positive returns in 2022 in many of the companies. Yes, we cover the top 30 companies, but within the market, it's the companies which are the key issue. Investors do not have positive returns from markets, they have positive returns from companies. And if you look at the returns over the last year, for instance, oil companies have done well, and there have been new listings. There was a low point about 6 months ago, and since then they have recovered. Which are the key markets in Sub-Saharan Africa? One is Nigeria, definitely. Two is the internationally listed stocks, which comprises about 35% of the top 30. And then there's the telecoms and technology. So we say 10 years ago, there were only a few listed telecom stocks. And one was Safaricom in Kenya. There was MTN in South Africa, but then that was primarily South African rather than African at that point. Since then, they've changed a lot. There have been new listings, and in fact, during 2022, new companies coming to the markets have included BUA Foods in Nigeria, BUA Cement in Nigeria, Orange, Côte d'Ivoire, and African Oil, which is listed in Canada. All of these are interesting, well-capitalized, well-managed companies. Where do we go from there? One is to look at really what companies are not there. There are very few companies from South Central Africa, which would include Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, Botswana, and Namibia, are too small to make the critical level of a market capitalization of number 30, which is $800 million. So that's the subject of another talk we'll be giving once we do the quarterlies for West Africa, East Africa, and South Central Africa. And that will be done by the end of the month. What is also interesting is the level of profitability of the companies. If you look at the return on equity and the earnings growth, it is, for many of the companies, there has been significant earnings growth. And our research says for the 9 months of 2022, many of the companies have shown positive growth of US dollar earnings in 2022. That is no mean achievement, because whilst everywhere else in the world is going through various issues of profitability and indebtedness, this does not affect African companies.